All right, so this is our agenda for today. We're going to discuss the similarities and differences between B2C and B2B selling. Then we'll spend some time talking about lead management, and then focus most of our time on pipeline tracking, and then we'll end with forecasting. So let's begin with B2C versus B2B. So who here runs a B2C organization? Sells to customers, consumers directly. All right, what about business to business? All right, it's exactly what I was expecting. So most people in this room, as you can see here, are B2B. So let's look at the differences, and we'll talk about the similarities. So B2C means you're selling directly to the consumer. This is largely product-driven. You're selling to a large market, and it's a very short sales cycle. So even though you can use a CRM, you're not going to be building that longer relationship as you will with B2B. And this is where you have to hire more experienced sales reps because they're going to be talking to multiple people at the company, finding the decision maker, and actually negotiating a deal. It's focused on a smaller market, and there's a longer multi-step sales cycle. But in the end, this is still selling. So you're qualifying your prospects, you're building a relationship, and you're providing your solution. So let's begin with lead management. All right, so lead management is broken down into 4 categories: generation, nurturing, qualification, and conversion. Let's begin with defining a lead. So if you have Zoho CRM, you click on the first tab right next to home, and that's the lead tab. For us, that's defined as a generic business interest, or it could be a person or a company that's maybe interested in your product. All right? That information is then pulled from either a first-party resource or a third-party resource. You could have another company doing lead generation, or you're doing your own lead generation. Sometimes if you're having a third party generate leads for you, the information they provide might not be complete. It might be junk information. And then you categorize your leads into hot, warm, cold, junk leads, and you move on from there. So the first step is actually getting these leads into your CRM. So lead generation is creating customer interest or inquiry into your products or services. And this is done online or offline. Like Zoho and a lot of companies today focus on online lead generation through AdWords, content marketing, and SEO. Then you have in-person lead generation like trade shows and using social media to generate leads. And then of course your own customers can generate leads for you because if you build a good relationship, they're going to refer more customers to you. And lastly, although this is not the best practice to follow, you can purchase lead lists that are industry specific. All right, next is lead nurturing. And this is more important for B2B customers because this is the ongoing education you have for leads not ready to purchase. And this is done through various methods. And these are methods that we use here as well. So you have drip campaigns. If you're not familiar with that, that's sending emails at date intervals to your customers to educate them. And that can be done through Zoho campaigns. Then you have webinars. We have blogs. That's where you publish your content. Your blogs have to educate your customers about the product, so you should be focusing on heavy content in those blogs. Then you have decision guides, infographics, and ebooks. This is how we nurture leads, and this is something that you need to do as well. Then you need to qualify those leads. All right, so you're tracking in the CRM what is only relevant to you. All right, now you look at the lead page in the CRM. There are lots of different fields in there, and you don't have to use all of those fields. So make sure you only keep the fields that are relevant to you. You don't need the other data in there. The CRM helps you track past, future, and events that are now. So you have your backlog of notes, of tasks, of fields that are already filled in. Your future is done through reminders on your calendar or reminders for your tasks. And then you have today. While you're on the call or while you're meeting with that person, you're going to enter notes, you're going to enter tasks, and you're going to even log the call. And then, of course, you always want to send a follow-up email. All right, so how do you qualify the lead? You don't want to just ask yes or no questions. We want to ask open-ended questions, which require the customer to speak. And you're going to use these questions to collect data, such as their name, their needs, their past purchasing history, why they're interested, purchasing time frame, finding out the budget. Instead of asking, have you used a CRM before, I recommend asking, describe your sales process. And in that answer, they will tell you if they're using that CRM and what steps they're using to track their current sales process. So you want to ask these questions, get the customer to speak more than you're speaking to them. All right, now I'm going to show you how to enter leads in the CRM and do the qualification process. All right, so here we are logged in to Zoho CRM. I've clicked on the Leads tab, and you see a list of leads below. Now to enter a lead, there are 3 ways. The first way and simplest way is to just click on plus new lead. If I click on plus new lead, you fill in the fields. As you're filling in the fields, you see mandatory fields. You're going to see the ownership as well. Ownership is very important in our CRM. Every single thing that you put in the CRM has an owner, and this is going to help you with your reporting. If you want to change the owner, you simply click on the icon and you can assign things to other people. The fields in red marked with an asterisk, those are mandatory fields. A best practice is to have as many mandatory fields as possible on the page so that your sales reps don't save the data without collecting all the relevant information. The second way to do this is to import leads. Now, we do have a video on importing if you go to the help section, and I'm not going to cover it right now, but you can import leads from an Excel or CSV file and directly pull them into Zoho CRM. And using automation, you can have those leads automatically assigned to reps to work on, and even assign a task automatically as well. The third way is the web form, which is found in the setup section under website integration. And you can build the web form using the easy drag and drop web form builder, and then post this on your website so that when a lead comes to your website, they just fill in the information and then they're pulled into the system. If you do not have a web form, there's a great video on our help section and the ebook that you can use to set it up. All right, so those are your 3 ways to enter leads in the system. What I'm going to do, instead of adding a new lead, is going to pick a lead off this list, and this name might be very familiar to people. All right, so here we are on Tim Howard's page. He is a lead. So I filled in the fields with my relevant information. I can edit each field, or I can use the edit button at the very top. You have your business card view here. This is going to be your most important information you can place at the top. You can choose up to 5 fields at the very top. And then on the left is your social media information, which you can tie back to a Twitter or a Facebook account. All right, so during lead qualification, you're going to be entering information in all of these sections below. So you have your notes section. To add a note, just simply click on the note box, add a note, you can add a title, and it will also save the date, time, and owner. All right, then below this is your activities. They're broken into 3 separate parts: tasks, events, and calls. So during your lead qualification stage, you definitely want to add tasks to help you follow up with the leads. Throw away all those sticky notes on your desk. You should not have any. That's what the CRM is for. So to add a new task, click on New Task right here. If you've used Outlook Tasks, Google Tasks, it's the same fields. You're going to put your due date and your reminder and your subject. And then you have your status as well, which can be customized. Your events are going to go on your calendar, and they're going to have a start and end date time, not just a due date. And if you want to see your events, the calendar is located on the top right. And you can click on the month view, and you can see all of your events. All right. The third option is logging a call. This is optional. Not everyone uses this, but you can log all of your inbound and outbound calls. I recommend this for a smaller sales team. If you have 3 or 4 people, log the calls manually. Once you get into a larger group, you want to automate the logging of the calls. We have PhoneBridge, hosted PBX solutions, so take a look at that and figure out a way to automate the call logs. All right. Your closed activities are going to show activities already done. Tasks have to be manually closed. Calls automatically get closed once you save them. And events, as soon as the time passes, it is considered closed. All right. The next section for qualification is attachments. Any documents, pictures, etc. that you have that are related to the client can be saved here. You can pull them from your desktop, which just means anywhere on your hard drive. It links to Google Drive, Zoho Docs, and to the Documents tab. So there is a centralized Documents tab in the CRM where you can store your documents and attach them to multiple records. And then there's emails, which we'll go over later today. But basically, the part I want to cover is when you're qualifying your lead, make sure you send them follow-up emails. All right? And you can send those follow-up emails directly from the CRM if you've integrated your existing email server with our CRM, or if you've integrated it with Outlook, then if you send it through Outlook, those emails will show up here as well. All right, so that's qualification. So recap. So when you qualify your leads, you're going to ask them needs-based, open-ended questions, and then you're going to fill in all of the relevant data in the CRM, and then schedule your follow-ups to build the relationship. All right, then we're going to convert the lead. So you're going to convert the lead directly into a contact. All right, a lot of people are confused about the potential section. So you're not actually converting the lead into a potential. So you're not converting the lead to a potential. I don't want anyone to say that today again. So I'm going to emphasize it one more time. You cannot convert a lead into a potential. A lead converts into a contact. All right, is everyone clear on that? Lead converts to a contact. The potential is the sale that you're tracking. It's the opportunity, it's the deal, it's the project in your pipeline that is going to move through multiple steps to close. All right? So when you convert the lead to a contact, once you decide on that the lead is qualified, then you have an account associated with the contact if the company name is present, and a potential is created to track your sale. All right, so there's one conversion. If you are B2C, you don't have to put a company name. Thus, when you convert, it just converts a lead into a contact. There's no account. You can remove the accounts tab, and you can remove the company name field altogether. All right, to decide when to convert, that is up to you. As a sales manager or a leader in your organization, you have to decide what is considered a qualified lead. Do you need just their name and address? Do you need to send them a quote? What part is it that you're going to consider the lead now a contact? So you have to decide that and train everyone to abide by those rules. Right? So here's a visual of what I'm talking about. We're going to start with the orange arrow that says 1. So you enter your lead, you qualify your lead, and you convert into a contact. It associates an account and a potential to the contact. Second option is if that person is an existing customer and you sign up for Zoho CRM, then you can enter them directly as a contact, and then you can add the account and the potential. You don't always have to start with the lead section. You can enter it directly as an account or directly as a contact. All right, now I'm going to show you the conversion process. So the lead is considered qualified, and the convert button is located here at the top. When I hit convert, it's going to run a duplicate check. All right, so I've already converted Tim over, and so I can merge the two together. All right, so that's one part of our duplicate check in the CRM. So what I'm going to do, for the purposes for converting, is I'm going to delete the contact for Tim. All right, and I'm going to delete the account as well. And now what you'll see is that when I convert Tim again, it creates a brand new account and contact. So if the contact exists, you can merge them together. If the account exists, you can add the contact to the account. All right, so that's how you can link multiple contacts to the same account during conversion. So this is your brand new information. And then you have the option to create a potential. So you don't have to create the potential, but it's highly recommended that you do because this is going to be the first part of your sales process. And then you choose one of the stages. I'll zoom in a little bit here. These stages they're not something that you have to use, and you can customize these. The simplest 2 stages you can have are open and closed. All right, that's all this is. All of these stages are about the potential being open, and then these are about being closed. You want to split those open steps into multiple stages so you know how far along it is in the sale. Take, for example, a CRM deal that my team is closing. So the customer will do the initial call, and then they might join a demo, then we might send them a quote, then we'll negotiate, then we'll close the deal. So that's about 4 steps. You have real estate, you're showing them multiple properties, then they actually sign the lease, and then they move in. So that's 3 steps. So that could be your cycle on what you're tracking, because this is going to help you report. You don't want to report on just what's open and closed. You want to report on to help you forecast on what's going to close this month, what is likely to close this month, and what you don't want to include in your forecast. So that's why this is important to customize. All right, if you're a beginner, then you can just use these to help you along until you figure out what your stages need to be. All right, so I'm going to choose a closing date. Once again, these fields are in red, so they have to be filled in. So I choose a closing date for the sale, and we'll choose the 11th, and I'll choose a potential stage. Contact roles. If you have multiple contacts at the same company, and you don't have to do this right now, you can do this later. As you talk to multiple people in the same company, you can assign them roles so you know who is the engineering lead, the IT manager, or the decision maker. Then we're going to put the amount of the sale, let's say $10,000, and we hit convert. So I wanted to show you the account first. I'm going to search for it instead. So here's what the account page looks like. On the right, you can see your relationships. It will show you if you have multiple contacts, which you can add here. And it will also show you what's in your pipeline. All this information here is carried from another section. So this is carried from leads over into accounts. If you make a custom field, you have to decide if that custom field information goes to the accounts, goes to contacts, or it can go to both. All right. For example, industry is a leads field that goes to the accounts. It will not show up under contacts because we're only mapping it to one section. So if you create your own field, you can map it to multiple sections. Your history shows up here as we've already looked at, and then I can click on the potential or the contact to go to that page. The contact page looks pretty much exactly like the leads page. It has all the information. And I can click on the potential to go over to the potential side. All right? So what we're going to do is go to the potential section. Now this is going to show all of your potentials in your pipeline, and it depends on your view. So this is showing everything. I can choose a view or create my own to show my closed deals, my open deals, my negotiation deals, my proposal deals, etc. All right? So I'm not sure if everyone knows this here as well. You can hit the magnifying glass here to search within the fields as well. So if I want to search a stage, such as qualification, I can search something like this, and it will find my potential for me. All right? So that's searching within a view. So before we go into the potential, we're going to give you some more information. So the potential, once again, is your opportunity or project. I know sometimes that word is a little confusing, so you can go under customization and just change the name of it. All right? So whatever applies to you, just change the name. It will reflect in the entire CRM. So that's a qualified business opportunity. You have to have basic information such as the dollar value, the expected closing date. All right? Without those values, the potential cannot be saved. It is attached to a contact and an account, and the life cycle depends on your company. It could be a really short life cycle, it could be a long life cycle. As you learn about automation later on in these sessions, you can fire off workflow rules depending on your stages as well, depending on what the sales rep needs to do as it moves to each stage. All right? So your sales pipeline, which is the sales funnel, this is all of your open potentials. So everything that's not closed is going to show up in this report. All right? And this is going to be used for the forecasting tab as well. So here are two different sales funnels. One shows the leads section, one does not. So on the left, you have your leads falling into the funnel, you're qualifying them, and you're going to close the deal at the bottom. Or if you run it this way through just the different stages, your lower probability stages are at the top and your high probability stages are at the bottom. You can run a report just like this on the right inside Zoho CRM. All right, and then you have your potential stages. So we have a chart that we've made, and we're going to talk about forecast type and forecast category later on. But you can simply just go to this section and click on the stage name and just hit backspace and change it to whatever you want. Or you can add your own stages. You can even remove stages as well if there's just too many for you right now. All right? And then you have your reports. I'm going to show you two of these reports right now, but we've made a bunch of reports for you to track your sales inside the CRM. You just go to the report section, you click on potentials, and you have about 10 reports already pre-made. Then as you get more experience, you can customize the reports and use them as templates to build your own from there. So I'm going to show you today pipeline by stage and this month's sales. All right, so these are 4 examples of sales reports that are already built in the CRM. So let's go to the potential section, and here we are at qualification. So as a salesperson, I'm going to follow up with the customer, continue to add notes with my interactions, send emails, and then maybe move over and send a quote. So I go to the quote stage and I hit save. Then I send the quote, the client agrees to the quote, I'll come back here and move to negotiation, and then you hit save. All right, so now, if you scroll down, you see a stage history, and all these probabilities are linked to the stage. So you can link a probability to a custom stage, or you can override it and put your own probability every single time. All right, then you have your closing date and your duration. Duration is how many days the potential has been in that stage. This is going to help determine your overall sales cycle. And what you can do here at the top is click on Sales Summary, and you can see all of your duration times as well. So lead conversion time, sales cycle duration. So you have that on every potential page, but you also have it if you run a report. We have duration reports already built in, so you can see what your sales cycle looks like and lengthen it if needed or shorten it as needed. All right. Also on this page, one more section that not many people use. There's a competitors section. So in this section, you can actually list the competitor's name and their strengths and weaknesses. This will help you build a database of your competitors, or it just helps you do your final pitch at the end if you know why they're looking at a competitor's product, so you can pitch against it. All right, so now what we want to do is run sales reports. At the reports tab, I can scroll down to potential reports, and I'm going to just run pipeline by stage. So remember, this is going to run a pipeline report. So what's in your pipeline is something that's not closed. This looks like a funnel. As I said earlier, you can run a funnel chart in the report section, or you can change it. Some people prefer vertical bars or pie graph as well. And then if you scroll below, you just see a spreadsheet of all of your information, and then you can export the report. So we'll cover reports later on. I just want to show you that you can just easily run a sales report without having to know how to build a report. And then you can just run a date filter at the very top for the closing date. All right, so that's one report that you can quickly run. Another report is this month's sales that we've already built for you. So that's going to show, here's my sale right now. I just left it as U.S. men's soccer team. It's going to show this month's sales. So the ones that are closed lost or closed won. And it's just a simple list that we have. So if you then can use that as a template and then customize a report as well to meet exactly the criteria you are looking for. All right, so that's 2 examples of reports that you have in the CRM. The other section is the sales duration reports. All right, so these are under sales metrics reports in your CRM. So you can take a look at your lead conversions and your sales duration and your sales cycle duration. All right, so this is for the potential duration, this is for the entire duration from lead to close, and then this is for your leads that are converted. If you've not realized this, you cannot run a lead conversion report in the CRM. You can't build your own. If you were trying to find it, there's no way to build your own conversion report. You have to use one of these. So we do have conversion reports available, so you know how many leads were converted each day and by who. All right, we're going to switch gears and talk about forecasts. So a forecast, of course, is used to project your sales performance. So you can measure your company's growth, and that's affected by external factors. You have competition, you have the economy, and of course, your sales team. Forecasting is available in all of the paid editions. So it's not on the free edition, but it's on all paid edition. And there's another type of forecasting called forecasting by territory. Today we're going to talk about forecasting by roles. All right, so it's a little different. This forecasting by ownership of the potential versus forecasting by territory of the account. All right, so forecast is based on your probability, which we just talked about. And then you're going to use that customization for stages to figure out forecast type and forecast category. So forecast types are simple. There's open and closed. You have open and closed won, closed lost. So you can have different stages for closed lost, like just general closed lost or closed lost to a certain competitor, so you can keep track of data better. And then you can have different stages for closed won as well. For example, in real estate, if the customer signs the lease, that could be a closed won stage, and moving in could also be a closed won stage, because you don't want either of those to appear on your pipeline report, because technically they're done, they're not on your pipeline. But they're still moving forward in the sales process because they're not completely done, but you can mark them as closed so they don't appear in your reporting. All right? So you don't have to have just closed as a closed type. That's the difference. Then you have your forecast categories. So we have pipeline, closed, and omitted. So pipeline categories mean that it is open, closed means it is won. So it's not going to appear on the pipeline report. Then there's omitted. So omitted things are not going to appear on your forecast. So why would we have omitted categories? Well, you might have what's called a bluebird come in for the month, and your average sales might be 100,000, 200,000. You have $1 million deal come in out of nowhere and just purchase. That is not going to really help you to forecast for the next month or the next quarter because that's just coming out of nowhere. It's going to skew your data. So you can omit that record from your report. Another way is if you want to be sneaky and you want to surprise your sales manager at the end, you can mark it as omitted so they can't tell you have a really huge deal. At the end of the month, just bam, change the stage, and you surprise them with a huge deal. All right, so there's 2 ways you can use the omitted category. And to set this up, you're going to be using first the fiscal year, which is already set to January to December. Does anyone use a fiscal year outside of January to December? If you go under Setup and Organization Settings, you can change that fiscal year to help you with the forecasting. It can be either quarterly or monthly, and you're going to set targets. So this is your quota, and you set that quota for your roles and then your users in those roles. And if you're using the territories, you're going to set it for territory managers and territory reps. All right, so this is the first screen you'll see here on the top left on the forecast. It's just going to define it for you. You hit Get Started. Then you have to set up your forecast hierarchy. So what we're going to talk about today is role. What you will see if you're doing this for the first time is role or territory. Then you choose your period, which is quarterly or monthly, which you can change. So you can have monthly forecast, quarterly forecast mixed together. Then you choose your start month, which for most people it looks like in this room is January. Then you choose your target field, which is going to be amount. The other target field that's available is expected revenue, and you don't have to use that. You can just use the amount field. Once you set this up, you're going to set your target year and month or year and quarter, the amount, and then for each role, you're also going to set target. So I'm going to show you what that is as we actually demo the forecast. I want everyone to know the definitions of all these terms because they're going to be used on the forecast report. So your target is commonly known as your quota. Achieved is how much is closed business or closed potentials. Deals are all of the potentials in the pipeline. Pipeline potential is what is expected. So anything that's open that's going to close for the month is going to be included in there. Target achieved in percentage. This is your close rate, basically, your percent to goal that you have achieved. Shortage in percentage is how much you're missing to get to that goal in reference to potentials. So this is a little different. This is not just the 100% minus the target achieved. So if you've hit 50%, shortage is not 50%. Shortage means how many potentials you are lacking in order to get to your goal. So let's pick a really simple example. You have a target of 10, all right? You've achieved 5, so that's a 50% target achieved. Your shortage is not 50%. If you have 5 more open potentials in there, technically your shortage is 0% because there's 5 more in the pipeline that could possibly close and you could hit your goal. If you have 2 potentials in there, then you have a shortage of 3 or 30% out of 10. And that's how it's calculated. All right? And then your star performer will basically, there's a star next to their name, so you know who's leading the pack out of your sales team. All right? So this is what a forecast looks like. This is where all these terms are located. This is the role. This is the target or quota. It's going to show you the percentage achieved, how much is in the pipeline. Here's your star performer, Sarah. And Warren here has a pipeline shortage of 9.6%. All right, so he needs to generate that many more potentials or leads to talk to in order to make that 0 so that there's a chance for him to hit the goal in the first place. All right, does that make sense to everybody, what shortage means? Yes? All right. Let's look at the forecast. So it shows that the VP of sales, which is the highest ranking role in my organization's, his personal target for the company is $300,000 for the quarter. All right, so far, he has achieved $164,000, and there are $327,000 in the pipeline. So that means there's a really good chance that you're going to hit your target. So below the VP of sales in your role hierarchy is the manager. So I have achieved $40,000 of this $164,000, right? Which is a small percentage, but looks like the manager is pulling in a lot more from his team. So I can click on the manager, then it shows me who the manager is and how much the sales reps are pulling in. So it's going to go level to level to level on your role hierarchy. On the manager's target, it's $200,000. So my personal target was $100,000, the manager was $200,000, and that's how we got to that $300,000. The manager has achieved 61%, and that's a combination of the manager himself and the sales team. And in that sales team, we have our 2 sales reps, all right? And the sales reps are Warren and Sarah. Sarah's already achieved her goal, 110%, and there's a star next to her name as she's your best performer right now. All right, and because of her high contribution to the goal, your achieved is going to be a little bit higher. And then that combined with the manager who has closed $42,000, combine that with the VP, and that's how you get to that final amount at the top. So this is a little different because now my VP, my manager, and my sales team are all trying to close deals. This is a really small company. Everyone's on the phone, right? That's the idea here. But usually you're not going to have to set targets for the managers. You can just set the target for that team and then set individual targets for every single user. All right? So you have to first build your role hierarchy, which is right here. So now you can see here, it's just those 3 roles that I've put a target for each one. All right? So there's 1 VP of sales, 1 manager, and 2 salespeople, and that's how you build the forecast. So quick recap. So you create a forecast for the highest role in the hierarchy, and then you set targets for every other role that's below and users in those roles. All right? So every role has a target, and then users in that role have a target. Each user has 1 forecast set per quarter or per month. In territories, if a user is in 3 or 4 different territories, they can have a different forecast for every single territory they're a part of. So that's the difference there. Role manager sets the targets for the users. A role manager is just someone who is higher up on the hierarchy. The next step up is your role manager. And you can, of course, set this on expected revenue or amount. And I think everyone here is just going to ignore the first part of the sentence and just set it on the amount field. All right? And last thing is that there are reports built in for forecasts as well. These are already pre-built. You can look at your entire history of forecasts and summaries of monthly or quarterly. And by clicking on Forecast History Report, and this is already pre-built, you can see how your different reps are performing with all of their different forecast goals. All right, I'm not going to go into that right now. First, focus on building the forecast. We'll talk about reporting as the next step. Lastly, I just want to end with the benefits of doing forecasts is that you can now set targets for your sales team. So by roles, by users, by territories, you're actually able to set targets. Before, just running a report, you have to pull into Excel maybe and then see who hit percent to goal, et cetera. So now you can see who is hitting those targets, Find out your star performers, reward them. That should be the aim of the sales team, is to be number one and get that extra commission or bonus. Find out your pipeline shortage. This is important. This might be a trend that you see for a few quarters or a few months. That could be, also something that marketing has to take into consideration, because you might not just be generating enough leads. You have to pour more money into generating leads because all your sales reps are always achieving a shortage. All right, so pay close attention to that. And then lastly, you can plan your future growth as well. All right, so that's the very end of the presentation, and open up for questions.